Okay, so let's try to understand what is this context wrapper in detail. Now, whenever a tool is being called, sometimes we have to make use of users' email ID, their password, their API keys, or the user ID. These are going to be unique for every user, which means depending upon who is asking the question, these parameters will change. So we cannot build an agent for each user separately, obviously. So what we do is we wrap the agent inside of something called as a context wrapper. So whenever I'm calling this agent, it will have some information about me. And then it will, in the tool, I can use this information wherever I want. Let's see how we can implement this one. I'll clear everything. So this is my API key. I'll delete it from here. You see, API key is undefined. So obviously I cannot uh, call the tool right away. What we are going to do is we are going to create something called as a context wrapper. And to create it, we will be using data class. So from data classes, I'll be importing data class. I'll create a decorator of it. And I'm going to create a simple class called user info, which will have these two as the attributes. One attribute is username, second attribute is user API key. This is almost the same as define init. It's the exact same thing, okay? So instead of doing all that nonsense, I'll just simply write it like this. And I know that username is always going to be a string, API key is always going to be a string. Okay, so here I've created my user info, which is the actual content wrapper, context wrapper. Now we need to understand how are we going to use this inside of our tool and how am I going to use this around my agent. So city name is the only parameter that we have. Along with city name, I need to pass something called as wrapper. But what is this wrapper? I cannot I cannot ask LLM to call the function with a parameter for this wrapper. So what we need to do is we need to somehow ignore this wrapper and consider only the city name as a parameter. This wrapper should be present, but my LLM should not consider it. In those situations, from agents, I'll import this one, run context wrapper. Now, for this run context wrapper, this is like a data type, and the details is this one. Whatever class we have created, I'll pass it here. And this is my run context wrapper, which is one data type. And I'm passing it for my wrapper variable. So whenever the LLM is calling this tool, it will ignore this part. It will completely ignore this and it will keep on calling only the city name. It will pass only the city name. With this wrapper, what I can do is I can take the API key like this. API key is equal to wrapper.context.user API key. If I want the username, I can say wrapper.context.username, user underscore name. So in that way, I can read unique information about the user inside of my tool. And here I can do the comparisons. Well and good. But what about my agent? How can I attach that wrapper to my agent? It's very simple again. All you have to do, take the data class, pass it to your original class, which is agent class. Now, whenever I'm creating a agent, an object of this agent class, it will make use of this data class as well. As simple as that. And now you already have your user info data class attached. So which means there is a context wrapper around my agent, which means while I'm calling my agent, I should pass that context wrapper. I cannot ignore it while calling. So how can I do that? It's very simple again. What we have to do is I'll create a simple dictionary like this, where I'm passing my username and my API key. So here, if you see, this is my API key, but it should be ABCDEFG. So this will not work. We'll test it out. But here in the runner.run, we have to pass something called as context is equal to this one. My user info dictionary will go here. Context, input, and the agent name. These are the three things that I will be passing. So let's try to test it out. Uh, from here onwards, my tool has been defined, my agent has been created, and my function is already created. Hi, tell me about yourself. What do you think about Paris? What is the weather there today? Here, if you see, sorry, I wasn't able to retrieve the current weather for Paris just now. Would you like to try again? All of this is happening because API key did not match. So I'll take the correct one. I'll put it here. Now let's try this whole thing once again. I'll pass this. I don't have to do all this again. Uh, what is the weather in Paris today? I'll ask only this Paris question, okay? I don't want to waste unnecessary tokens. Hmm. Let me restart the kernel just to be safe. I think there's something wrong with the kernel. Let's take only the important parts, which is this. Run these and this. Yes, okay. Yeah, that's, I need this as well. Yeah, that's it. This is my data class. User API key is present in there. Model name. Model name. Oh, that's very weird. How did I miss this? Okay, this is a dictionary. So obviously I need to pass it like a key. Now let's test it out again. Yeah, Today in Paris, the weather is blah, blah, blah. Okay, I need to remove the print statements. Obviously, we cannot be printing API keys. What is the weather in Paris today? And there you go. So it was able to call the tool properly. So in that way, depending upon the user, we can pass the information separately. So if I am asking it, I'll change this user info into my configuration details. If somebody else is asking it, then I'll change it to their respective details. So this is the context wrapper. With that, we have covered everything that we have to understand about tools. Now let's try to understand the third most important concept, which is building multiple agents and agent orchestration. See you in the next video. Thank you.